we're still waiting on the best version of Sark as a coach. And he's had a damn good version, right? He's still one of the best coaches in college football, but he hadn't had the best version, because if he's already had the best version of himself, he's already taken you as far as he can take you.
Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton and Rod Babers. Today we're going to ask a simple question. Is the pressure going to be on Steve Sarkisian as much as any time before, not only in his time in Austin, but in recent memory for any Texas coach? 2026 has long been the year that many people thought people were pointing to in football for a potential national championship. You'd have a second-year starter in Arch Manning. They spent all this money in the portal and on recruiting classes. Guys, is this the year where Sark is under a microscope that may be magnified more than ever before? Jerry Hamilton, your thoughts?
You know, it's a tough conversation to have but it's 100% yes. Look, we're in I call it hyper inflated, super duper instant gratification in college sports era. People know what the coaches are getting paid. People know what they are paid. People know what the players are getting paid. Kirk Cignetti in year 2 won a national championship. Dusty May in year 2 just won a basketball national championship. What does that do? Super duper duper inflated expectations. People don't have patience anymore. It's crazy to me where we've gone in college athletics because of the portal and NIL, but here we are. So the answer is, I hate to be this guy, but absolutely, yes. I mean, it's Arch Manning's second year starting. Texas has the highest ticket prices in America. The money spent on the portal in this class, the number 1 recruiting class a year older, 4 straight top 5 classes. I mean, you put all this together in the magnifying glass. Only Tiger Woods is sitting out there saying, whoa, that's, and he can only say mine was worse, baby, in the 2000s. This is being in the fishbowl and under a microscope this year. There's a ton, whether it's realistic or not, there's a ton of pressure on Steve Sarkisian to bring home a national championship in an era where it's harder than ever to do it.
Let's hope that Sark handles the pressure a little better than what Tiger Woods has.
I'm in the 2000s when everybody watched his every move.
In all seriousness, Rod, one of the things that I was thinking as we wanted to debate this topic is not only is it Sark that's under this pressure, but it's kind of built into this. He's kind of put the pressure on himself, right? Yep. I mean, it wasn't this kind of pressure wasn't on Tom Herman. It wasn't on Charlie Strong. Your thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, Mac did the same thing, right? To a certain extent, it's a compliment to you as a coach. I called Mac often a prisoner of his own excellence. You've built up this standard with the great recruiting classes, stockpiling all the talent, making sure that you upgrade the coaching staff over and over again, facilities, everything. And Mac did a great job. I think Mac won it, his 7th year. Mac won it all. I was there, guys, when the tension and the pressure started to mount against Mac. When Mac first got there, guys, Mac had a Heisman Trophy winner. He got a signature win early against Nebraska. I mean, things were feeling pretty good. And then Bob Stoops wins the national title in his 2nd year.
That's right.
Back to Jerry's point, and Longhorn fans go, well, sorry, double-digit wins ain't good enough. Sorry, you getting to the Big 12 title but ain't winning it, that ain't good enough. Sorry, first-round picks, yeah, we had our feel of that ain't good enough. We want the title. We want the championship. And so Max started to feel that pressure early, guys, right around 2000. Bob Stoops wins it all. And then after that, Matt felt pressure to make changes on the coaching staff, upgrade there, and also to continue to upgrade, obviously the roster. And he still didn't get there because the other thing was he got to beat Bob Stoops. He had to beat Oklahoma, and that didn't come until 2005, which ultimately came when you won the national title as well. So I feel for Sark right now in his 6th season, he's basically kind of where Mac was at that same time, where Longhorn fans are like, all right, you beat Oklahoma. Great. We're done with that. That's the next. You beat A&M. Guy, you know what? That was great, Sark. But you know what? We're moving on to the next challenge. And no matter what Sark does, bringing in Arch Manning, bringing in, the Cam Colemans of the world, stockpiling all this talent, Longhorn fans are not satisfied. They never truly will be. until you win it all. Everything else is just, that's just a secondary prize. It's just for them, for Longhorn fans, that's nothing that's going to truly satisfy that appetite of a championship until you win it all. So for Sark, there's no doubt. I think it's even more than Mac. There's never been more pressure on any coach in the history of Texas football to win a national title than it is right now on Steve Sarkisian.
One of the reasons, Rod, that I wanted to address this topic, Jerry and I had this discussion on Coffee and Football recently, and that is that the UT fans' expectations, some of them are, national championship or bust, but that's not necessarily a bad season if you only make it to the national semifinal. Mm-hmm. But there are going to always be that other component out there, that other element where it's not enough. Jerry, what do you say, and how do you address fans who say national championship or bust? Because that's we took on this topic because we are hearing more and more, and we've pointed to 2026 as the year for so long.
Yeah, and look, I think it's college sports in general right now. But, I think the thing with Sark is with the Texas fans is you were a play away back-to-back years from playing for a national championship, essentially.
Yeah.
And you fell short. So what happens when you get to that point, and this is where is the pressure unfair or not? People are going to have that argument. Where you get to, then what do fans say? Is that as far as a coach can take us?
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to come through and win a national championship? And that's
like Ryan Day. Ryan Day had that kind of
right.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Kelly at Notre Dame.
Yep.
James Franklin at Penn State. Like last year, after he won a couple of playoff games, and this was supposed to be Penn State's year. All the running backs were coming back. The quarterback was coming back. National championship or bust. That's kind of where we're at. And is it fair or not? I guess the flip side, I would say, if you're getting paid $11, $12 million a year, it's absolutely fair. If you have the resources behind you at University of Texas, at the Michigans, at the Ohio States, Lincoln Riley's about to go through it at USC. It's absolutely fair. I think it comes with the territory, and these guys know it. But I do think there is a different level of pressure that Texas Steve Sarkisian will be under when he walks out on the field against Ohio State this year. Definitely.
You agree with that, Rod?
Yeah. And I think what for me is most compelling is how does Sark respond to that pressure, right? As a coach, because you want to see him evolve as a coach in those moments you talked about, Jerry, where Texas is a player or two away from getting to the next level. What happened in the Ohio State game, right? Jim Knowles said, hey, I broke tendency and pulled out a defense concept that I hadn't used, that wasn't on film. So Sark couldn't have prepared for it. That was a coaching coup d'etat, if you will. That was a schematic advantage that Jim Knowles gave his guys on the field that Sark didn't have in his bag at the time. So there's still some evolution for Sark. And I think that's what this year is going to be about as well. How does Sark take his coaching to the next level as a play caller now with all these new weapons? That's going to be, but there's no doubt Sark's going to feel that pressure. And I'm hoping that it brings out the best, because it brought the best in Mac. That pressure, when that pressure mounted, and it was all about, man, can Mac beat Bob Stoops? Can Mac finally stop being, the coach that can win in January and not necessarily win when it matters most, right? In a national championship competition. And Mac did. Mac ended up evolving into a national championship hit winning coach. And Bob Stoops brought out the best in him. I always say Batman needs a Joker, right? And he needed something that was going to bring out the best version of him as a coach. And I think for Sark, we're still waiting on the best version of Sark as a coach. And he's had a damn good version, right? He's still one of the best coaches in college football, but he hadn't had the best version, because if he's already had the best version of himself, then Jerry made a point. He's already taken you as far as he can take you. If he's already seen the best of Sark, then he's already taken you as far as he can take you. He can't take you any further. But if we are banking on him evolving, just like this program has evolved, under Sark, if he evolves as a coach, take his game to the next level, then he'll start beating the Ryan Days of the world. He'll start beating the Kirby Smarts of the world. And he's going to have to do that in the playoff anyway to get to the semifinals. You ain't going to be able to get to the semifinals without beating some elite coaches. And that's been one of Sark's issues too, beating the elite coaches. He's already among the good and the great coaches. Can you beat the elite coaches? Because there's only like 3 or 4 of them out there.
Rod, expand on, you said Sark has to evolve as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
What ways does he need to evolve as a coach? Getting his guys ready to play earlier, coming out of the gate faster with, scoring earlier in games. Maybe that's been something that they haven't done great the last couple of years. Where does he need to improve to take that next step, maybe?
One of the things I brought up, you do have to break tendency at the right time as a coach, especially in big games. There's so much.
Kirby Smart calling a fake punt.
Yes.
Oh, exactly. Kirby Smart calling the onside kick.
Yeah.
That changed, right? It's usually going to be 1 or 2 plays in critical moments, but on you, it is a coach to break tendency at that perfect time and turn the tide in your favor. And I've seen Sark do it before, but I think you got to do it on a bigger stage. Sark has also got to learn how to, trust himself in critical moments in critical situations. And that's why Texas got to be better in the red zone. They do have to be better in third down, goal line. He as a coach has got to figure out what their identity is in those critical moments. Because Texas had a red zone identity really since Bijan and Rojo left. Maybe getting one now with Arch. Goal line short yardage has been an issue. Going back to the Ohio State game, that's probably the most obviously unpopular among Longhorn fans. But that's probably the one that stands out the most when you're looking at Texas struggles in short yardage and on the goal line. So these have been issues that are persistent over time. I'll give Sark credit. When Sark has a major issue that he's got to fix in the offseason, he usually does a pretty good job of addressing that. And coaches say you get what you emphasize. Like Texas was really bad at turnovers, right? In 2024, they were 130th in the country in giveaways, but they were top 5 in turnover margin in 2025. So one of the best things they did. So Sark usually will look at the issues that are holding them back, and then he will come up with a plan to obviously rectify those issues. This particular season, he's got a lot of players that can make him right even when he's wrong. Right? You got an Archman that can scramble and be off schedule and still make plays off script. You got a contested catch, King Kong and Cam Coleman. You got 2 running backs who had more forced missed tackles than Jeremiah Love. Each of them did. You got guys that'll make you right even when you're wrong. So I think this is a situation where he's got to focus on the critical moments of the game, because that's what I think is going to separate this group. Red zone, third down, goal line, short yardage. Those critical moments are what's going to win you these ball games in the SEC.
They're working on some of that stuff right now in practice. Practice number 10 yesterday. Hey, Jerry, it's not just Steve Sarkisian that's feeling the heat. This is, you mentioned it, when coaches like Kurt Zignetti and Dusty May win in year 2, and or somebody spends $40 million on a roster. Yeah, it comes back to be, hey, you need a win, and you need a win now. We're not paying you win in 5 years.
Right, no doubt. I mean, Lane Kiffin talked about this in a press conference yesterday. He was asked about the 9-game SEC schedule, which I do think that makes this tougher now on Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart, and everybody. And he's talked about, I wasn't for it, but he said, I understand there's always things that go into decisions besides the way I think. And I'm sure there are financial reasons for it, but I don't think anybody now that we've kind of seen how selections have gone in the playoffs, thinks there's value in 10-2s, 9-3s, you're out. You're going to have more losses in the conference and beat yourself up more. He was talking about the 9-game SEC schedule and how that could affect SEC teams getting in the 12-team playoff. And that is so he's pretty much pointing it out there, right? Hey, if I go 9-3 this year, y'all just throw me. I don't care how much money you gave me. You just threw me into a 9-game SEC schedule in year 1 at LSU. So y'all need to tap the brakes here a little bit. I don't think fans care.
I was going to say that sounds like excuse making in the future.
Yeah.
Right. I'm remember I said this on April 7th in 2026, because I might mention it again, like November 25th, 2026. He's like making an apology in advance. What do you make of this win now issue and how that adds to Sark's pressure?
Yeah, for Sark, he was on a linear trajectory, right? Winning more games every year. And then 2025, I think Longhorn fans were fine as long as that continued. And then 2025, even though you won double-digit games. Think about how high the standard is now. He won double-digit games. Longhorn fans don't care. He had to overhaul the whole roster. He had to fire a coach and everything. Oh, because you won 10 games. Think about it, Mac Brown.
Beat his rivals. Beat all the rivals.
Beat all the rivals. It did not matter, right? That's the pressure we're talking about. That he feels it mounting. And I think he understood, okay, there was regression in 25. What was the reason for the regression? We're not gonna get into that conversation, but he made some changes, right? In anticipation of, hey, we want to continue to up the ante. But yes, there's no doubt about it, man. When Signetti wins in his second year, like I said, going back to Bob Stoops winning in his second year, and I know they're not necessarily rivals. So for Bob Stoops, it's a little bit different. Texas kind of felt that was really close to home because now everything is on a national scale. Everything is more macro, and especially in terms of recruiting and talent acquisition, you're getting in battles with Ohio State and those guys. So when Indiana wins in their second year and they do it without the blue chip talent or the blue chip, ratios that most of the blue bloods have, and they do it with a coach who seemingly came out of nowhere, by the way, with the swagger to kind of call his shot and say, I'm going to do it. Longhorn fans want the same thing. Every college blue blood wants the same thing. They want their coach to go out there with that kind of swagger and confidence, call their shot, and still go out there and be able to win those big games. So for Sark, there's no doubt. Six years, especially with the success he's had, he should get more benefit of the doubt. And Sark has done a great job. But the truth is, to Jerry's point earlier, we don't have the patience. And we don't remember. We have very short memories. We don't remember Sark going to the semifinals 2 years in a row. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about where the program was before Sark got here, because it's not going to gain you any street cred or credibility with the fans. What have you done for me lately? That's what we are as a society, unfortunately.
Yeah, Janet Jackson's best album.
Yeah.
The thought here, and I want to close with this, that I still, even with all this pressure on Sark, and I do agree with the precept that this is his most pressurized year, even more so than coming off the 8-5 and having Quinn Ewers come back. And I think, that was a prove it to me year. This is, are you the elite coach year?
Yep. Can
you extract? Can you motivate? Can you make the right play call at the right time to end up winning it all? It's the all-in mantra to a different level, because you have all the pieces in the place. Nobody's talking about not having all the chess pieces on the board.
Nope.
Right now. You're fighting with a number one ranked quarterback. You're fighting with a number one ranked wide receiver, maybe the top defensive edge guy in the country, and Colin Simmons. You've got guys like Rasheem Biles and Jelani McDonald. I mean, Ryan Wingo that can take. I mean, you've got guys. So you got maybe the top offensive left tackle in the game in college football. You've got the pieces. Can you, as the coach, put it all together and win it all? Thank you to our sponsor of this week's State of the Program. That is our friend Adam Lowy over at Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from ATV to 18-wheeler, reach out to Adam and his firm, LowyLawFirm.com. They'll give you a free consultation to see if you might be due compensation. A free, no-strings-attached consultation. Just give them a shout. Reach out to them at LowyLawFirm.com. That's going to do it for this episode of State of the Program. Steve Sarkisian, you got a lot of pressure, well-founded, and you're a victim of your own circumstance, a little bit of your own doing. For Jerry Hamilton and Rod Babers, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchinson, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good Wednesday. Hook 'em horns.
Hey guys, Blake Monroe here from Coffee and Football. YouTube thinks that you're going to like this video right here, and if the algorithm knows ball, it's a good one. So go check it out, and then don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button.